This is called the Junkyard Story. It's a scary story about something that happened when I was a kid. That's my dad, and that's my grandpa. That older guy there is my grandpa. That's me, the little round-headed boy there. My grandpa was a sweet guy. He wasn't very rich though, but once in a while he'd buy me a nice present. And when I was, I think I might have been 12 years old, my 12th birthday, and he bought me a bicycle. And I think he paid more than he really expected to pay, but he bought me this bicycle. It's a Huffy 3-speed. This was the best present that I ever got as a kid. I'm sure it was the most expensive present. I rode it like every single day. Well, if there was snow on the ground, I probably didn't ride it. But if there was no snow, I rode this. I rode this bicycle. I loved this bicycle. Um, I felt free and happy on this bicycle, and I rode it until finally it got stolen. One day, this is the scary part of the story. I'm riding along on my bicycle, and I'm feeling great. And all of a sudden, there's two guys that I do not know on bicycles, and one is on my left and one is on my right, and they're really, really close to me, and they look like this. This isn't really the guys, but in my mind, in my memory, they look like these guys. Um, Probably they looked, more like these guys. Um, maybe they even look like these guys. I'm not really sure. They they get really, really close to me. One guy reaches over and he grabs my right handlebar, and the other guy gets my left handlebar. Um, I'm not even in control of my own bike, and they're saying, "What color is this bike? It's red." And why do they care what color my bicycle is? And then they're going, "What color is his shirt? It's white. It's a white shirt." And I'm wearing like a t-shirt, and they say, "You just rode by a junkyard. Didn't you were yelling, you rode by a junkyard, our junkyard." And I no, I never. What? All of a sudden, junkyard. I realize kind of who these guys are. There's only one junkyard in my entire neighborhood. It's on a street where I never go, called Garden Avenue. It's the scariest street on my neighborhood. There's like a gang who lives on this street. Nobody but poor people. The kids on this street are dangerous. And the reason is it's real cheap to live on that street because every couple of years it floods. There's no levee, and the creeks go up, and the whole neighborhood floods. So nobody would live there that had any money or resources. And I never, all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, I'm being kidnapped by dangerous boys from Garden Avenue who are taking me to that junkyard. And then it seemed like a lucky break. We make this like U-turn. It's like a circus maneuver. The three of us in a row, side by side, we make this kind of U-turn. I'm trapped in the middle, and we turn, and all of a sudden I realize, my God, we're going up my street. Sheldon Street. This is my street. We're going to go right by my house. There's the house I grew up in. Nothing bad can happen to me on my street. Nothing bad can happen to me in front of my own house. And then I realize in the driveway is my parents. They're in their car and they're backing up. And I think, Dad and Mom, they're gonna save me. This is my dad and this is my mom, and that's my parents saving me from falling over when I'm, I don't know, 1 year old. They back out. We kind of go by, the three of us. Boy, they don't know it's my mom and dad, but I'm like, oh God, thank you, mom and dad. And my all of a sudden, my dad, he's in the car. My mom's in the car, and dad's driving past us. He's not even really slowing down, and I see this horrible, horrible sight. This is not my mom, but this is what I saw. It's like my mom waving at us. And I realized my mom thought these boys, these kidnappers, are like friends. They're like Gary's friends. They're having some kind of bicycle fun. And away they went. My mom and dad, my saviors, away they go to the end of the block. They turn up ahead of us. Off they go, and I'm doomed. I realize, I'm 12 years old and my life is over. I'm gliding on a path towards death. And I sort of started remembering something. In my neighborhood, about a year before this, a kid disappeared. And this is not the kid, but it kind of gives you a sense of the kid. And we were coming home, and the entire neighborhood was out there, and everybody was like in a panic looking for this little kid. Hundreds of people were out there. The cops, of course, were involved. All the rest of the day, people searched for this kid, and into the night. Finally, I guess like at dawn, uh, the father of the boy found him dead beside a stream, laying there in the mud. I guess he had drowned. And I thought, as I rode, on the between those kidnappers on the way to the junkyard, that our neighborhood was going to have a second disappeared boy. And this strange calm came over me as we approached the junkyard. And I was thinking, I'm going to die. My troubles on this earth are about to end. We turned into the junkyard, and I saw their leader. He was a kid, a big kid, kind of big, and he was sitting on the hood of one of the junked cars. And he was kind of silhouetted against the sky, and I couldn't see him very clearly. And I realized that my fate was in his hands. The king of the junkyard was going to decide if I lived or died. We stopped. I kind of fell off the bicycle. They got off. They threw down their bicycles. They pushed me down on my knees. And the king of the junkyard, he jumps off the car and he comes over, and I look up and I look him in the face and I say, Jack, it's somebody I know. This isn't really him, but it kind of gives you the idea. Jack, aren't you Jack? And he goes, Gary, are you Gary Lawrence? I have known Jack since I was in the third grade. We're not really friends. He was way bigger, tougher, more athletic, everything more than me. But I knew him. He looks at me and he says, this is not the kid. This is not the kid I told you guys to go catch. It turned out a different kid on a different red bicycle had ridden through the junkyard, screaming at him, yelling profanities at him. And Jack had told him, go get that son of a bitch and bring him back here. And they had taken off after the kid, twisting and turning through the neighborhood. And that kid lost him. He just lost him. And so they run around. They were afraid to come back with nobody. And then they saw me, a kid on a red bicycle with a white shirt. I don't know how to describe the feeling, the wonderful, blessed feeling when you're 12 years old and you think you're going to die, and then you're free. Sometimes in life, you find out you're really not all that special or brave. Sometimes you find out, even on your own street, riding your favorite red bicycle, even your dad can't save you. And you imagine your own death. And yet, it all ends happily. Sometimes life really is grand.